Hi everyone, this is Ken Ketter here with Game 1 of our BattleShopper breakdown for Empress, and we have a keeper. So in the opening hands, really, all you're making sure you have a couple shards, maybe a progression, but this hand's particularly powerful in that if we hit a shard in the first couple turns, we'll be able to turn 3 Consult off this Warp Steel Shard Sworn. Looks like our opponent is presenting a Takahiro deck. Oh, alright. So we're just going to deal with a little conscript action. Generally, the aggressive decks like this that don't have reach to close out the game, with like Lasgar's Vengeance, are usually a good matchup for Empress. They deal you like 10 to 15, and then you lock them out with the old Empress of Ice, and usually aren't too happy after that. We are going to lead on the Scryos coin. Pass back, and fortunately the first turn or two for this is going to be a pretty slow one. Let's hope we draw that shard and we'll be able to take off with it from there. Worst case scenario, opponent is able to like double Lackey next turn and attack us with a 3/4. That's something I'm like super concerned about. Figure it'll be more like a sharpshooter. Kind of, if our opponent, I'll have to go on a blood here, but if opponent doesn't go blood, not having the turn 3 Takahiro activation actually really probably doesn't matter for them in this matchup. The one extra card, not a big deal. Oh yeah. Nope. So our opponent was able to, get the 3/4 on turn 2. Still pretty sure I'm supposed to Warp Steel on the 2 here, but we start to question, how much upside is Transmogrifade going to have when this thing is pretty tiny. Let's see what we can do here. Okay. Well, with the Skittering Cultivator being a little bit larger and not dying to the cheap shots, I'm going to run that out there. Now, it's not going to set us up for a Consult next turn, but I don't know if that's what we want to do anyway. I think putting some Magistrates in play to block would be pretty reasonable. Find out, though, what the opponent has planned for us. It's definitely a matchup as the Empress player you want to see. The non-reach aggressive decks very clearly run into problems, against the prison style deck. Push a man. Push a man. We will not block here. The expectation is that OP will have a cheap shot to try to downsize and upsize that. So we're just going to let the damage go through. Hey, yeah, I love this. For those enjoying the Wizard Battle Board, won a door prize in one of the clashes. Yeah, the one case. Or the clash, the seal events. Pretty pleased. Got my friends, my gargoyles here. Yeah, kind of downside sometimes if you play ladder late at night, you run into folks that, might not be as experienced with the interface, so sometimes you gotta take it a little slower. Talk through your options. Alright. Definitely gonna punch in here with the Skittering Cultivator. It stinks that we missed that drop there, but I'm not too concerned about it. We'll just hold up this Transmogrifade, or both of these Transmogs, and try to pick off this Outcast when our opponent goes into their combat step. Yeah, just keep upsizing. Go nuts. Especially the 4/5 one. That's a big one. So we're going to let our opponent get into combat, double check that the stop's there. This is why we check this. So this way, if they wanted to respond to that, you know, with a basic action or a post troop after the transmogrifade, we get to limit that pretty heavily. Also limits things like that, you know, the polyberry pouch and the like. So we take our 1. The shard here, and we pretty happy. Even if we don't hit the shard, we're gonna nuts. I was gonna say we were gonna consult her a bunch, but opponent had other ideas. Sure. Shard. Hit. Hey. Yep. A little magistrate in play. Opponent cannot destroy it in a turn unless they're main decking Rotcast, which I don't know if they would, you know, with the Strangles already shown. Feels like a lot of slots dedicated. Sure. So they have 2 4-drop troops in their hand. These both get speed, right? Yep. Okay. A lot of interesting hits off of the with the 4 cost, right? Yeah. High Infinitrix. So definitely respect, you know, the activation to try to spin it to a higher cost there, but it's not going to change our block at all. I'm fine if opponent would like to, you know, basically give up the turn for another removal spell. Something to be said, you know, maybe we want to hold on to it to try to consult next turn. Sure. Like this just doesn't feel like a winning proposition for our opponent. You know, if this is their sequence over and over again. Maybe we're a little more conservative with this Tribunal Magistrate. Could also prompt here. Yeah, so we're gonna go with this second Magistrate. And let's hold up the Transmogrifade here. We are not looking to block, though, this iteration. So this would be a situation, you know, if opponent was able to have a second troop on the board that was pressuring, and they were able to, you know, with the advantage on the board, go 1-for-1 with our threats since we didn't have the copycat hand. It'd be a pretty comfortable win for the opponent, but that's definitely not the way the Takahiro conscript decks are particularly set up. They're a little light on the removal. They're trying to, you know, win with additional attackers, and Empress deck loves all the troops. Sure. Yeah. Gonna get a couple Dreadlings there. So with opponent only showing us 1 resource, Enlarge is an opportunity to get up to 5. So the good news about Enlarge, though, is it has to go on his troop and go to the damage step. So we'll block here to minimize the damage. Sure. All the troops we can put in there, the better. We're just going to run out the Warp Steel here. While we could Warp Steel into Consult, tapping all of our troops, I do not think that that's a winning sequence. It would set us up for 5, 6, like 7, 8 damage from our opponent on the backswing, and that's not what we're looking for. with this given configuration, we can trade the Depth Crawler into the Furious Smasher. Actually, we could we could Tribunal Magistrate the Upgrade Technician, Warp Steel Shardsworn on the Furious Smasher, Depth Crawler here, and Transmogrifate something else. Get the pump. Opponent has already used quite a few of their conscript effects, so I'm not 100% that this one is really gonna, you know, get much bigger. So if we block here, here, we can take one. Yeah, we'll block here and here. How about that? Okay. That was the other troop conscripted. Trying to think if Miss Lord doesn't really line up with a bunch of sure. Interesting. So this is going to allow the opponent on other turns, if they so choose, to void this on my turn, get it back in the end step, putting Dreadlings in play and saving them for the next turn. Oh, I mean, I guess so. All right. Start on a little focus action. If we can find an Empress, which we don't, but we find a coin. And we'll just play this tapped. So instead of playing the slow shard there, I could have first consulted and then tapped all of those to my magistrate. Yeah. Well, the sequence was inefficient. I'm not, you know, super happy with it. We're going to draw all cards off of all of these. Yeah, I really wish I hadn't run out that shard. Yeah, for that exact reason. So I could put another Magistrate in play here, which seems fine. Another blocker to try to just put in front of our opponent's troops. Nothing too fancy there. Make these 6, 7s? 5s. Oh, right, because there's only 2. All right, well, we can block the 2 larger troops, and then we get to start commander prompting, leaving up a shard every time. Also gave up a draw effect by getting rid of that coin there. We'll block the 2 largest attackers here. Sure. 4 spiders go in the deck. That's a 2-3 now. That's okay. Definitely not the most hard-hitting of pacings this game, but we will eventually reach a conclusion here. So we're gonna block the Outcast and the Mist Lord, and the reason you block the Outcast there, if opponent would like to conscript once or twice, it would translate to more damage. Sure, just another troop, doesn't really matter. Yep. Excited to see the like the cascade of spiders. You know, when the first one happens, there'll be like 7 more, right? Pretty simple prompt here. We're just hanging out. We now have a way to actually destroy one of the opponent's troops that attack. I'm gonna hold up Transmogrifade if opponent tries to, you know, build up a troop or something. That's typically not how they try to take the game down in the conscript deck. Swish. Make sure, yeah, I'm gonna sack the copycatted version. That way, if I draw another copycat, I can get, you know, the magistrate back if I so please. And I want the prompt to be able to take a troop off of the board on our opponent's side. So we'll be able to block like one of the 3-power troops, both the 3-power troops. We'll probably take the, I think we take the color off the table. Sure. This way, if opponent had cheap shot, they weren't going to be able to cheap shot that in the living, and then we're also going to downsize this outcast. I very concerned about the life total here. So 2, 3, 4. Yep, that one's gone. If we're able to draw an Empress here, that would do us a huge service. Hey, that'll work. So we get to kind of show off here with a little bit of pass blocking on the magistrate. Make sure my stop is set for end of turn as well. Yep, we have an end of turn on the opponent, so that way we make sure we don't miss out on our opportunity to activate there. We'll hold this shard here. We're not going to draw both another 4-drop and the 8th shard, so we're good on whatever our sequence presenting, or whatever our sequence presents as. So we get to block, 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 take 3. I admit we're not doing the best here. Okay. So that means I'm forced to block this. And we go here, and this will be 4, right? Block, block. So we have to... Actually, so we're trying to... This 2 damage versus that 2 damage is the same, right? This allows me to remove 2 troops, but I think I want to get it here, actually. And then we'll go here. And then this is 2, 3, 4. It's all the same, right? Yep. And then we can... so I'm not going to take the Mistlord off the table. I'm going to take both of these off the table. That seems better. Yeah, because this other one has an ability to generate some troops at the end of my turn. So we'll tap both of these. Make them go to 7s. Yeah. And we still got to get a activation here. There we go. So now we can get this pass active now. Sure. So those are both tapped. So if you block these, you take 6, 12, 16. don't think I need to hit on both sides. Like, I don't think it has to be the Dreadling producer. So if I put 2 of these and play, all right, let's figure out the exact attack here. So both these Dreadlings have to get in. What we're trying to force out of our opponent is 2 blocks and still lethal is the question. So this is going to be a 7, right? 7, 14, 21, 28. Yeah, we just swing with everything here. Because they block these 2. And then you take 7, 14. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, overthought that a little bit. But opponent is forced to put blocks in front of these Dreadlings and then takes, or puts blocks in front of the 7 powers and takes damage, 7, 14, 20, 28. All right. This is a great example of, you know, why the Empress deck, even without the Empress, is really just not terribly concerned about the non-reach aggro decks. Opponent did a great job of pressuring us, you know, putting us to a low life total, but the reality is just that they're not able to get the whole thing done without some sort of effects outside of combat. So let's get into the reserving real quick. Opponent seems like they are particularly susceptible to things like Treacherous Pass, so we might want a couple more of those. Outside of that, though, I think we're going to trim a Magistrate. Let's see. So the reasoning behind getting rid of a Magistrate or 2 is that the opponent, we're not trying to have the game go, you know, infinitely long. Warpsteel Shardsworn is another card that doesn't line up well against Cheap Shot, so we'll cut those. Let's see. I like the passes. That lets us try to lock up the opponent pretty quickly. I think this is a place where I do want to try the Web Guards. And the reasoning there with the Web Guards is it's going to help us. The Web Guard is going to help us block early on. And then as we get to the point where we're starting to swing the game over, hopefully they'll help us transitioning into try to kill our opponent. I'm going to leave in the Empresses and I'm going to leave in the Prompts. I think both of those are particularly powerful in trying to, you know, overrun our opponent. And I did bring in the passes. I stayed low on Transmogrifades, and I might be, you know, I might regret that. The opponent does present. Yeah, let's cut one focus and we'll bring in the Transmogrifade. Let's give this a try. Yeah, definitely not 100% on where those Web Guards come into play. You know, cutting the Cultivators means you're cutting your spiders, but I think getting a card that's bad against Cheap Shot out of your deck has got to be a little bit of value. Opponent will just be able to use it as a pump effect. Ooh, definitely going to hold on to this hand. This might be one of the hands, though, where we hold on until turn 4 to try to get a massive Magistrate turn. Turn 1 focus. We're going to look for some interaction or a 2-drop. Yeah. Hey. All right. Flip this. Show me a skittering. Wonderful. All right. We might be able to turn off or pull off a very, very powerful turn 4. Such that it might be lethal levels of powerful, which would be... The cats are going to be so copied. Oh. What is it? Is it a cat? Is it an Oni? No one knows. No one knows. Are demons cats? Very interested by the Dread Botanist in this, in the Conscript deck. Okay. Ooh, little Scryos coin action. Coin will be nice if we, you know, get to the 4th turn and we haven't found another well or shard. We'll be able to drop that and play kind of nicely. We're definitely safe to block here. I don't expect opponent with, holding up green thresholds. Sure, okay. Gruesome Deed is a totally expected card out of the reserves from the conscript deck. Lines up for a nice, nice removal spell. Well, if we draw another 3, I would love to be able to, play that and not expose our only actual threat. Another 3-drop. Any... So, what we have to figure out here is, will opponent have... I mean, we're not playing out the Magistrate here, but the question is did the opponent also have access to, like, Casualty of War to try to let... or to try to get us when we went to, run out the Magistrate. So we take 3 here. Could copycat that pretty easily, but I think we'll end up transmogrifating it. So not really a big difference in when you activate, get your thresholds if you're, playing a threat that's not the Empress. When you're playing the Empress, though, it definitely gets a little, it's a little different. You want to make sure you run out the Empress first to get your tap triggers in. So opponent could have Casualty of War here. It doesn't look like they do. Well, no, they would do it here. Got to make sure you target the original Magistrate as well. Now, if opponent was on a slightly larger strategy, like Kaitalichu, I would not want to run out into a Noxious Glory here, but I just don't feel like the conscript deck really has a lot of flex when it comes to destroying multiple Magistrates like this. Like, the Noxious Glory just would kill most of their board at the same time, and I don't think that's what they're wanting to do. We're probably going to transmogrifate this Cloud Runner. It just feels... 4/4 flyers, real powerful. Hey, opponent has second blood threshold. Sure. We'll see what opponent wants to present for combat. It should be squad. Yeah, we'll transmogrifate here. I'm going to block with the non-original Magistrates just in case the opponent would like to pick one off post. Just remember, we really only have one copycatable creature in this current configuration. Anybody else notice how that Magistrate slid over there? So don't think your Magistrates hold position, just based on regular usage. Like, double check, triple check, quadruple check before you copycat something that it's actually copycatable. Well, I guess everything's copycatable, but you're going to have a bad time. So, decide here how many troops to tap. I think I'm going to go with... Meh, we're going to tap them all. So now we get to... There's no guarantee that this Empress is even going to live, but... This will let us tap down one troop here. Nothing too fancy. pretty much locked up from here. It'll take us a few turns, and the opponent definitely has some sequences that can help him get out of it. But, all right, there's that casualty of war. Looks like they... oh, that's right. They couldn't have casualtied in the tribunal section. No, they could casualty the copycat, right? Huh. All right. Well, it is what it is. I still think this is going to be good enough. Like, our opponent is going to deal us 3 the next turn, and then 1/1 troops or 1 power troops won't ever deal damage again. As long as we don't get, like, Unleash the Beast. Okay. So opponent could flip over. No, it doesn't look like that's what they're wanting to do. Okay. Oh, that's right. Since they're not an actual Infinitrix deck, their necrotic count is probably a little low. Block here. Tap all that down. Tap that down, or exhaust that, excuse me. We'll then untap that business. Oh, yeah. And this should give us an actual, we actually have a win condition now. Cool. Are spiders good? Unsure. If so, why? So opponent's going to go up to 27. Has to have answers for these spiderlings here. Probably digging for a cheap shot. Oh, yeah, opponent's 100%. We'll be able to Skitter and Cultivator and get another activation in next turn. So... wonderful case of Treacherous Pass, you know, offering kind of a speed up effect in the deck. Not kind of, it is an effect that increases your clock. Not going to tap here. We'll wait until the end step to try to play around the Butcher in case the opponent's on the budget option. 8 to 27, yep. Absolutely. Let me get that end of turn step, please. OP. Let's go. End phase. End phase. For me. Ship. Yes. All of them. Let's go to 7. Lucky number 11. So definitely could have activated there to try to reduce the damage by 1 on the high Infinitrix. Gonna exhaust. We're gonna untap with Scryos coin and hopefully hit. And I have a feeling the opponent will concede when they see this sequence because it's another 42 power. We're not showboating, we're just flexing. Opponent does not have Lullaby mana up. Squad! 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 138, 140, 143, 5, 7, 9. This is the big damages. Opponent will go to 29, so they should go to negative 120? No, because they'll block all of these. Actually, they may not. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they can block these. Going to 29 and then taking 46, 50, 54. So they will end up at negative 25. I think is the final number. Negative 25, final answer. 26 because they did an optimal block, I think is how that works. Ooh. Little hot cheap shot action there. Okay. Still got it. Math wasn't quite there. Yeah, I was actually 26, right? 23 off the board. Okay. Anyway, this was Ketter with the BattleShopper breakdown. That was just match 1 there of some Mono Sapphire Empress swagginess. Please come back for matches 2, 3, and 4, and a little bit of a wrap-up video. Thanks a lot.